Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Gruely True Sports Network. The NFL Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. You can use the promo code TRUTH100 to get a cashback deposit on your first deposit. I am your co-host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, as always, from the FF Face-Off, and he's probably in a better mood than he has been the last 3 weeks. Help me welcome to the show, Anthony Servino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great. The sun's shining, the birds are chirping, and the Dallas Cowboys played like a team that doesn't want to lose a game in the next decade.
Oh, geez. All right. Never mind. They'll be last because they were the last game played. All right, we're going to start off with the Oakland Raiders and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, 25 for 31, 429 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think it's safe to say now that the Green Bay Packers are definitely for real, Anthony.
Yeah, this was Aaron Rodgers, his, coming out party. This is the best he's played under the new offense and under Matt LaFleur. He accounted for 6 total touchdowns, I believe, the second time or third time in his career he's done that. And with the Packers defense playing the way it was and carrying the team up till this point, now we're starting to see Aaron Rodgers play like Aaron Rodgers again. And he's doing this, especially yesterday in the past couple of weeks without Devontae Adams. And even though, Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Geronimo Allison, they were active, they were true game time calls. Watch out for the Packers. I picked them to be in the NFC Championship game with my Cowboys, and I haven't backed off of that yet, and that's not going to happen.
At least the Cowboys part. Maybe they'll play the 49ers or the Saints or one of the really good teams, but I don't think the Cowboys are getting there. The Oakland Raiders, on the other hand, Derek Carr played well, 28 for 22, 293, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 21 carries, 124 yards. Their problem is their defense is still not good enough, I don't think, to get them over the hump here. But this is a team that I think all in all, they have to be happy being 3-3 right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're close. They're getting there, but there's something missing with that team.
Well, I think it's players. They still need more players. But 3-3 and sitting in an AFC that is by no means tough, there's an outside shot here, but I think their schedule is going to shoot them in the ass before this is all said and done anyways.
Well, I don't think anybody expected the Raiders to be a 3-3 team.
No.
I don't know if many expected the Raiders to win, 5 games all year. Derek Carr, I think the issue there is lack of weapons right now. Outside of Darren Waller, there's nothing. Tyrell Williams, he missed the past 2 games, and they beat Chicago and London. But when you have to go throw at Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers can make plays without his top receiver. Derek Carr, I just don't know. He's clearly not on Aaron Rodgers' level. Josh Jacobs, very good young running back. I like the pieces they have in Oakland. Once they start getting healthier, I mean, look at the Chiefs right now. They're going to play a couple games. They're going to play a couple games without Pat Mahomes. I mean, the Raiders could be a playoff team.
Their schedule, though, is really rough, I think. And, Patrick Mahomes is going to be back in 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know that the Raiders can still win more than 6 or 7 games. But I think Derek Carr, I don't think he's on Aaron Rodgers' level. But I think if you gave Derek Carr Green Bay's defense, he would be in much better shape. So I don't think it's necessarily a lack of weapons on offense. I think it's a lack of weapons on defense.
Yeah, that defense is a work in progress. Do you think, going to Vegas next year, do you think the Raiders will be competitive?
Well, they're competitive right now. The question is, can they make the moves to become better than just competitive? Because most NFL teams outside of Cincinnati and Miami are competitive. But there's a difference between competitive and making the playoffs. And that brings us to the
No, I'm talking about competitive for a run.
They're competitive for a run if they draft well or if they sign a couple big-time free agents on the defensive side of the ball. Derek Carr is good enough to win with. Josh Jacobs is good enough to win with. You're going to have to add one or two weapons receiver-wise. They need to upgrade the offensive line a little bit. But the defense as a whole, I think up front, they're not bad. But everything in that back end, I think, needs to be rehauled.
If the Raiders made a move, because I know that, the Broncos are fielding calls for Emmanuel Sanders. If the Raiders made a move for a guy like Sanders, does that change your mind?
No, because the defense is still shit. I mean, you've got to be able to play defense.
I mean, look at the Kansas City defense.
I know. And what's their record? They're 5-2, but I don't take them as a threat to win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, if you sign Emmanuel Sanders or trade for Emmanuel Sanders or A.J. Green, you might be able to get it so you can win 8 or 9 games and make the playoffs, but they're still not a threat, if you know what I mean. I mean, to me, a team that's a threat going into the playoffs is a team that could make a run and get to the Super Bowl. I think that they have way too many missing parts to be able to fix that right now.
I was one of those people who had the Raiders, laying for dead, making this move to Vegas next season, but I'm starting to come around a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not. I just think there's too many things that they need. And let's look at the Raiders' schedule, because I haven't looked at it in a while, but I do remember it's going to be hard to win some games at the end of the season for them. And when you look at the Oakland Raiders' schedule, right now you are going to Houston next week. You're going to host Detroit, which is a tough game. Now you do get the Chargers, you get the Bengals, both at home. You go to the Jets, but then you go to the Chiefs. You host the Jaguars, which now isn't as difficult. You host the Lions. Yeah, hell, I'll go with you. I think they could make the playoffs.
Right?
Because this is the thing. When I looked at the schedule a month ago, I thought a lot more of the Titans and Jaguars than I do now, and the Chargers. And when you look at it at 3-3, they probably lose to Houston, but who knows? It's not like Houston's a dominant team. They play Detroit, which even if you lose those two, you follow it up with the Chargers and the Bengals at home. You go to the Jets. You could be 6-5 going to Kansas City, lose Kansas City. Still, you host the Titans and Jaguars, and then you finish with the Chargers and Broncos. So, yeah, I think Emmanuel Sanders could make them a playoff team. I don't think they make him a threat in the playoffs, but I think they could make him a playoff team. And even without him, I think with that schedule now, the way it shapes up, yeah, you could be a playoff team. So I changed my mind. You just changed my mind. All right, next up, the Los Angeles Rams win 37-10 over the hapless Atlanta Falcons. Jared Goff, I don't think looked that good again. Missed a lot of open receivers, 22 for 37, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley, 18 carries, 41 yards. Darrell Henderson, 11 carries, 31 yards. I think this game, Jalen Ramsey did make an impact here, but I think this game was more about just the Falcons are not very good right now. Plus, Matt Ryan got hurt.
Yeah, but Ryan got hurt late in the game. The Falcons, yes, they are in shambles, and I do think a coaching change is imminent 2 weeks after their owner, Arthur Blank, said that wasn't going to happen. I don't know if Dan Quinn's going to make it out of the season. You could tell the Falcons, just starting on that end, they're frustrated. I mean, Devonta Freeman was ejected for throwing a punch at Aaron Donald. They couldn't get anything going offensively. You brought up Jalen Ramsey. Julio Jones didn't have a bad game, caught right around 8 passes for 91 or 93 yards.
6 for 93.
But, this is a Falcons team that normally, Matt Ryan was throwing for 300 yards in each of the first 6 games of the year. So I think Jalen is ultimately going to help the Rams defense. And we saw that a little bit with Aaron Donald's name finally in the box score and making an impact. On the offensive side, still a ways to go because, Jared Goff, no turnovers for the first time, maybe all season. But they're struggling to run the ball. And the Falcons, this was the game that they really could have got something going, and they just can't find a way to run.
All right. Let's move to another team.
I don't even know. Goff wasn't even sacked.
No, I mean, Atlanta gets no pass rush. Their offensive line is terrible, which leads to Devontae Freeman doing nothing and getting frustrated and kicked out of the game. Atlanta, it's time to get rid of Dan Quinn. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers run their record to 6-0 with a 9-0 win over the Redskins. The Redskins stat line here, Anthony, get this. Case Keenum, 9 for 12, 77 yards. Adrian Peterson, 20 carries for 81 yards. Wendell Smallwood, 5 for 23. It looks like they ran a total of maybe 40 plays this entire game.
How many times did they even pass the football? I know it was.
They threw the ball 12 times, and they were 9 for 12.
I would have kept passing it. I don't know. I mean, this is. I don't know. I don't know what you call a game like this for the Redskins because there's so much negative to combat for Bill Callahan. They had a little bit of success running the ball, but when Case Keenum can go 9 for 12, I would have possibly passed it a little bit more because Terry McLaurin has been hot, and maybe you could have broke one.
Well, I would say the thing that you're worried about there is they gave up 3 sacks, and it probably ends up doubling or tripling, and maybe Case Keenum gets killed. But with the 49ers, it's 9-0 in a bad weather game where they played poorly, but they were coming off a huge win last week. So I think when you look at that, I think it's all right to overlook this because good teams win games when they don't play well.
You know, I know that there was bad weather. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo did fumble a snap or two, and to me, that's going to be the key for the 49ers, either making a Super Bowl run or stalling in the playoffs is going to be all on Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you trust Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, and we'll have to see because I've never seen Jimmy Garoppolo in the playoffs. So until we see that, we don't really have an answer. Next up,
are they a team that needs another wide receiver?
Yeah, they probably do, but they've got everything else. So I think they could stay pat and be all right. But if I was them, I'd be trying to find one. I'd be offering Cincinnati a lot for A.J. Green right now.
You know, the trade deadline's right around the corner.
Yeah, and A.J. Green's a guy that could make Jimmy Garoppolo a much better quarterback.
No, he definitely could, and he's not going to be a headache in a locker room.
No.
Which is the biggest, whatever team, if A.J. Green does get traded, whatever team gets him, he's going to be a help in the locker room for the younger players.
Yeah, because anybody that can keep their mouth shut through almost a decade in Cincinnati is not going to cause any problems if he goes somewhere where things are done right. Next up, Jacoby Brissett, 326 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Indianapolis Colts got a huge win to take the lead in the AFC South by a half game over Houston, Texas, 30-23. Marlon Mack was limited 18 carries to 44 yards. So this is a game that was put squarely on Jacoby Brissett's shoulders, and he came through big time, Anthony.
Yeah, and I've said it on this show. I've said it on my show. I believe in Jacoby Brissett. I think he is a quarterback in the NFL. And if you look at his numbers all season long, this is what I didn't anticipate. You know, I thought he can weather the storm and lead the Colts to some wins, but he is putting up pretty big passing numbers. All but one game, he's thrown for at least 2 touchdowns. And in the one game where he didn't, he had a rushing touchdown in the win at Kansas City.
Yeah, and that was a game where they were concentrating so much on running the ball. It's hard to blame him if he didn't play great because it's not like he got in a rhythm throwing the ball.
Bottom line, he won the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the thing is, a lot of times quarterbacks, when they're put in a situation like that, may force stuff, and he didn't. He kind of lets the game go to him. Deshaun Watson, I think, forced the game a little bit in the second half yesterday. He was 23 for 34, 308 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions. The big thing that stands out to me with the Texans, though, is no running game at all. Carlos Hyde averaged 2.9 yards per carry. I mean, they're not going to be successful without doing that. I know everybody says the offensive line is better. I think it is pass blocking wise, but run blocking, the Texans still have issues up front.
You know, Hyde is a player that the Texans have been winning behind. You know, Hyde played a big role in that win last week over Kansas City, 26 for $116. But this Colts defensive front 7 is more talented than the Chiefs, and it showed because he couldn't really get Carlos Hyde going. His second lowest yards per carry total of the year.
Yeah, and that brings us to another guy people question, which is Kirk Cousins, which for 3 straight weeks now, against three good opponents, he's come out and played really well. 24 for 34, 337 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dalvin Cook, 25 carries, 142 yards. This Vikings team, I think, is a serious Super Bowl contender, Anthony.
Yeah, they started slow. There was a little bit of issues with the wide receivers and Kirk Cousins and the play calling. But Dalvin Cook and that defense carried them through. And now in the past couple of weeks, Kirk Cousins is showing the upside and is showing the reason why the Vikings went and paid him that guaranteed contract. And if they keep playing like this, I know I like to call the 49ers a complete team, but when you have a Dalvin Cook going for over 100, Kirk Cousins throwing for 4 touchdowns and over 300, and the defense, like a Mike Zimmer defense, it's hard not to call the Minnesota Vikings a contender. But they're playing in the NFC. They're playing in the same division as the Packers. You have the 49ers. You have the Rams. You have Dallas.
Oh, God, you don't have Dallas. Jeez.
You have New Orleans.
Dallas.
Carolina, another one or two
You
lost
don't have
team.
Carolina. You don't have Dallas. I mean, those are not teams in the same sphere.
There's a
as
good
Minnesota.
10 teams in the NFC that can make the playoffs.
No.
There's a good 10.
Yeah, there's 10 that can make the playoffs. There's 10 in the AFC that can make the playoffs, too. How many can go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, or how many can go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC? In the NFC, the teams that can go to the Super Bowl are Minnesota, San Francisco, New Orleans. Who am I missing here? I'm missing
A team with a star on the side of their helmet.
No, it's not, because they're nowhere in this realm. Kirk Cousins is a million times better at quarterback than Dak Prescott.
Are you? Oh, well.
He just is.
I
like Dak Prescott, but I think Kirk Cousins, and this is what I brought up last week, and I got ripped for it on the NFL Pick'em show. I don't think Kirk Cousins ever been in a position in a big game where he had the better team. And if you're never in that position, it's hard to really rip on a guy for losing when he's outmanned. There's not many guys that outman will win. That's Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers' sphere, and only Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and maybe Russell Wilson are in that sphere. So I don't think you can compare that to that. And this is the thing: the Detroit Lions.
You wouldn't put Dak at least on the same level. I'm not talking about skill set, but if you take Kirk Cousins' skill set and Dak's intangibles, and the way he can win a game.
This is the thing. Intangibles. When somebody talks about
intangibles win football games.
Yeah, no. See, that's
Ask
the problem.
Tom Brady.
They don't. And
Ask
now,
Tom Brady.
Wait a second. Now you're comparing Dak Prescott to Tom Brady, which is absolutely stupid because of this. Tom Brady's intangibles win the winning world championships. Dak Prescott's intangibles lead to beating the Philadelphia Eagles in a home game during the regular season, Week 7. So when Dak Prescott can take his intangibles and win playoff games and win championships, he's nowhere near there. Kirk Cousins, I don't know if he has those intangibles yet either because he has not done it. But to sit here and if you compare their skill sets...
Kirk Cousins has been around 8 years.
Yeah, he's been in Washington. So I guarantee you this, if Dak Prescott would have been drafted in Washington 4 years ago, he'd probably already be out of the NFL.
Well...
I mean, so you can't give me that. And Kirk Cousins is going to win playoff games. Hell, I think Kirk Cousins might end up in the Super Bowl this year. Matt Stafford is also better than Dak Prescott. He's 2-3-1.
Oh, another one without a signature win to his name.
Shit! Once again,
He
beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. The game was stolen from him in a playoff situation. Now, Matt Stafford plays in Detroit, where he has no help. Yesterday, he was 30 for 45, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He played well enough to win that game. The difference is they don't have the kind of running game that Minnesota has. So, once again, can you tell me when Matt Stafford's had the players around him to be able to have a victory? Because Tom Brady, even when he pulls it off when his team's a little less, still has Bill Belichick. So don't give me this. Dak Prescott doesn't sniff either one of those guys' jocks. Dak Prescott beat a one-dimensional Seattle team in the playoffs last year, and he got a gift against, what, Detroit? No, he wasn't even on that team, was he? All right. He did get beat by Green Bay in the playoffs. His intangibles weren't good enough to win a game where they were at a home field advantage because they were supposed to be the better
Well,
team.
I mean, it was Aaron Rodgers.
And it was a Dallas Cowboys team that was the number one seed and was considered the best team in the NFC. So if Dak Prescott had intangibles, it's safe to say, from what I
Dak
remember,
was a rookie. You're talking about a game in his rookie year.
Oh, so that doesn't count?
And he got them to one of the best records in the league.
And then he
And
lost.
he got them to that point.
And then he lost to Aaron Rodgers, who
Right.
has immeasurable
To Aaron
intangibles.
To Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers has intangibles.
All losses aren't created equal.
I know. And the thing is this, when you are the home playoff team, you should win that game. Who was favored in that game?
Probably Dallas.
Yeah, by 3.5 points. And they lost because Aaron Rodgers outplayed Dak Prescott's intangibles. Next up, let's talk about probably the most important game of yesterday as the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Cincinnati Bengals 27-17. And this was horrible. Opie Taylor should be fired. The whole city of Cincinnati should just be disbanded after this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more excuses. I can't talk up this Bengals team. I can't be the Bengals apologist. And, you know, Zach Taylor, I don't know if he's going to get fired. I think they give him another shot next year, but they need a lot of work. You know, you have a player with the talent of Joe Mixon. He can't get out of his own way.
Well, he can't get out of his own way because nobody will block for him, and it's a
Right.
mess.
My point is exactly.
The Cincinnati Bengals are worse than the Miami Dolphins because the difference is this. I think Brian Flores is going to be a successful head coach in the NFL. I think he's going to be a success in Miami before this is all said and done. Opie Taylor needs to go back to Mayberry with Aunt B because this shit's not working in Cincinnati. I mean, he literally looks like he's calling Madden playbooks or Madden plays from, Madden. I mean, he has no clue what he's doing. The play calling is horrible. The effort is atrocious.
Yeah, but how much is it personnel?
You know what? Nobody makes him try to run the LA Rams offense in Cincinnati. You don't have the personnel to do it. So you have to change things. You know, it's one thing, and you'll see this with a lot of coaches. They'll go a certain place, and they like running a certain offense. And they're going to run that offense no matter what, even if the players don't match it. Great coaches like Bill Belichick will change what they do. Go back and watch Belichick the year he didn't have Scarinelli, or whatever his name is, the offensive line coach, the year they lost the AFC Championship to the Denver Broncos. Their offense was completely different. They did a lot more chipping. They got the ball out of Brady's hands even quicker than normal because the offensive line was terrible. But the Bengals don't do that.
You know, look at how they don't use the tight end position after all these years with Gronk.
Well, look how the Bengals don't use it now, even though they got Tyler Eifert, C.J. Uzmanzada, and they're actually their tight ends aren't bad.
You mean C.J. Uzomah?
Uzama. It doesn't matter. T.J. Uzmanzada could probably play better right tackle than what this team's getting right now. Next up, I don't want to talk about them anymore because they make me sick to my stomach. The Arizona Cardinals are now a 500 football team at 3-3-1. They beat the New York Giants 27-21. I didn't get the feeling, I watched on Red Zone, I didn't get the feeling that game was as close as the final score. Kyler Murray didn't have a huge game, but who did have a huge game was Chase Edmonds, 27 carries for 126 yards, Anthony.
Yeah, there was no indication that David Johnson was only going to be used in emergency situations, or if the game plan, if they were down, maybe they would have put David Johnson in. That's a report I saw from one of their beat writers, Darren Urban, today, which doesn't help you, if you're a fantasy football owner. But I write a weekly sleepers column, and I said, I wrote about Chase Edmonds. I said, this is a guy who scored 2 weeks in a row. David Johnson's a little bit banged up. You might want to put him out there. I know I used Chase Edmonds, and he went absolutely ballistic. And what is going to happen there moving forward, I think there's a good chance that, because David Johnson, he's not as explosive as he was. People are waiting for his production from 2 years ago before he sat out a season with the wrist. That explosiveness isn't there, and we did see that from Chase Edmonds. So I can really see these two backs. I don't know if we're going to get a 50-50 split between the two, but I think we're going to see a lot more Chase Edmonds moving forward. This is a Cardinals team that has won now, 3 in a row. No Christian Kirk, who's arguably their best receiver, not named Larry Fitzgerald. The NFC West is clearly the best division in the NFL. I would call Arizona right now, getting Patrick Peterson back this week, they have a shot. They have a shot at the wild card. And I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury guy. I buried the move. I buried Kyler Murray in the offseason. Didn't think he had the size or the intangibles to get it done, but they're proving me wrong.
Well, I always like Kyler Murray. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a joke, but I think to call them a playoff team may be a little premature.
I said they have a shot. Something that we couldn't say 4 weeks ago.
I don't think they have a shot. And I think when you look at it, they got to go to the Saints next week, I think, don't they?
Yeah, they do have the Saints.
They got the Saints. They host the Niners. They play the Bucks at Tampa.
Okay.
They play the Niners again. They host the Rams. They host the Steelers. They host the Browns. They're at the Rams and at the Seahawks. I don't see how they get to the 9 or 10 wins.
It's a tough road. And listen, it would be a tough road to the postseason, to the wild card spot. But they're playing well, and I'm buying in.
All right, you can buy in. I'm buying in that they're much better than what I thought they would be, but I still think in the end this is a team that's 6-9-1. Next up, the Miami Dolphins actually had the lead yesterday for a little while against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills come out on top 31-21. The Bills were led by Josh Allen, 16 for 26, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. Frank Gore, 11 carries for 55 yards. The Dolphins, on the other hand, Fitzpatrick, 23 for 35, 282. Mark Walton ran the ball 14 times for 66 yards. I think if I'm Miami, I actually have a little bit of hope because I think they are playing better. If I'm Buffalo, I'm worried because it took till the fourth quarter to blow this game open. But in the end, the Bills won, similar to what I said with the 49ers. Once you get a record like this, the only thing that matters is that you win.
Listen, the Bills have been winning ugly games all season. And they nearly are an undefeated team if it wasn't for Josh Allen going down and a Patriots defensive or whatever, a special teams touchdown. I think the Bills are for real. I think the Bills could possibly be the second best team in the AFC right now. They certainly might have the best defense. Maybe you give the Patriots an edge, but again, second best defense in the NFL. Josh Allen, worried about just like I am with Jimmy Garoppolo. I am worried about Josh Allen. He does like to give the ball away a little bit more often, but I think they play hard for Sean McDermott, and they're going to win these tough games.
All right, next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans with a 23-20 win over the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think this is something we both said before the year started that Ryan Tannehill should be the starting quarterback. I think we saw why yesterday. 23 for 29, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Derrick Henry, 22 carries for 90 yards. This Titans team at 3-4 is a team that I do think could possibly make a run here, Anthony.
It's possible, but is Ryan Tannehill, because I said Ryan Tannehill should be the starter, is he a vast upgrade over Marcus Mariota?
He is, because I said he was. How about that? I like Ryan Tannehill. I think Ryan Tannehill is a solid NFL quarterback. I'm not saying that he's a guy that's going to take you to the Super Bowl. But I think the one healthy year he had with the Dolphins, they did end up in the playoffs.
Well, he and Gase actually had a winning record together, which people overlook.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, when healthy, is a good player. You look at the schedule, they play the Bucs next, they should win that. They're at the Panthers. They have a shot. They host the Chiefs, which I think the way the Titans play, which is running the ball, stopping the run, I think they have a shot there. They play the Jaguars, who they should beat. They're at the Colts, probably a loss. At the Raiders, host the Texans, host the Saints, host the Titans, or go to the Texans. Yeah, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to have a lot better chance now with Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, like I said, I need to see it consistently from Tannehill. I need him to stay healthy. I do think he's going to be an upgrade over Marcus Mariota, but I don't know if I can buy into this team as a playoff team yet.
You know what?
I don't know if they have do they have the weapons at receiver? I mean, I'm not a big Corey Davis guy.
Dude,
A.J. Brown, he's still young.
I don't think I buy into any team in the AFC being a playoff team right now except for the Patriots. Every one of these teams has a
Buffalo doesn't count.
No, I mean I'm talking about
Baltimore doesn't count. Beating your guy Russell Wilson.
They don't.
Your guy Russell Wilson.
They don't. They don't. There is only one team here capable of winning the Super Bowl right now, unless they take on injuries, and that's the Patriots. Because every one of these teams, from Buffalo, we worry about Josh Allen. With the Ravens, we worry about whether Lamar Jackson could make the plays with his arm when the time comes. All these teams, with the Chiefs, they can't stop the run. They can be run on. Every one of these teams has a glaring weakness here. I'll tell you what. I think it's possible right now that maybe the second best team in the AFC is the Colts. And they just lost to the Raiders a couple weeks ago.
I like yes and no. Yes and no.
Exactly.
I think it's so wide open. It's so wide open.
That's my point. And let's go ahead and let's talk about Russell Wilson.
Now, if the Cowboys were in the AFC,
they would still lose to the Patriots and had no chance to go to the Super Bowl because the Cowboys have huge questions, too, that have already been answered, and you don't like to answer yourself. And that's, do they have a coach that can do it? And that would be no. Next up, the Baltimore Ravens, 30. The Seattle Seahawks, 16. And I know everybody loves Lamar Jackson. He was outstanding yesterday throwing the ball, 9 for 20 for 143 yards. And it's a good thing that, you know, they have like 3 running backs.
To no wide receivers.
Yeah, to no wide receivers at all. I mean, because you got to have wide receivers to complete the passes, right?
I mean, shouldn't you?
Well,
Willie Snead, Miles Boykin.
Yeah, what's wrong with Willie Snead and Miles
Seth
Boykin?
Roberts.
Yeah.
Chris Moore. Come on. If Lamar Jackson had a semblance of a weapon,
he still
that's not a tight end.
He still wouldn't be able to throw the ball.
Marquise Brown's his best receiver, and he's a rookie, and he hasn't played in 2 games.
Yeah. He still threw
Get
for
this guy a wide receiver.
Okay. Great quarterbacks make everybody around them better. I can tell you this. Russell Wilson doesn't, outside of Lockett, does he have any big-time receivers? Don't give me the DK Metcalf either. I don't like that kid.
I don't. But Russell Wilson is in his own class. He's in that class with Aaron Rodgers.
And the thing is this.
I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's in that class.
Hey, right now, Russell Wilson's 5-2, and he has no help. Chris Carson, I think the big thing that stood out to me is how much better the Ravens were against the run yesterday than what they have been all season. Because this is a defense that I think has been run on and has had issues. And yesterday they held Chris Carson 21 carries, 65 yards. And I think that's the real difference in the game here, because when you cut out the running game, no matter who the quarterback is, it makes it a lot harder to get it done.
You know, I think that, you know, you talk about the Ravens defense a little bit. I think it's going to only get better because, you know, they did bring in Marcus Peters. They have Marlon Humphrey, and Jimmy Smith hasn't played in a long time. He was their best corner before trading for Peters. So they're going to have 3 really, really talented cornerbacks. Earl Thomas. The big hole is the other safety position because they're already down their top 2 guys.
Yeah.
You know, Tony Jefferson, whoever the hell was behind him, they're both out. So I think the Ravens, they need to do something at safety. Maybe Earl Thomas can kind of play that center field role.
Well, you know what the intangibles are in Baltimore is John Harbaugh. So with John Harbaugh, there's always a chance because John Harbaugh is a guy we've seen go to New England and win a playoff game before. And actually, without a missed field goal, he may have an extra Super Bowl ring on his fingers too.
So are you calling the Ravens a contender?
No. The New England Patriots are going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC as of right now. That can change. If Lamar Jackson can show me he can complete passes against secondaries that are not atrocious, which he put up huge passing numbers. This is my point. No matter who the wide receivers are, against bad defenses, he put up big passing numbers. I just want to see him do it against a team that can play defense. And the Seahawks, I don't think, are a great defensive team. And I know he was missing guys. And I think John Harbaugh right now should be the coach of the year because John Harbaugh has taken Lamar Jackson's skills and he's put the players around him to make that offense work.
Well, who's the play caller, the offensive coordinator that's getting all the hype? What was it, Greg Roman?
Yeah.
Because he's worked with quarterbacks with a similar skill set and has success with them.
Yeah, but the thing is this, a lot of times you'll see guys take guys with a similar skill set and they'll try to pigeonhole and make them what everybody considers a prototypical NFL quarterback. Lamar Jackson you can't do that with because he doesn't see the field that way. He sees the field entirely different. And I do think that Lamar Jackson probably is going to end up being a success in another year or two because they will get him some big players around him. And Greg Roman is a very good quarterbacks coach. Put it like this, Lamar Jackson went to the perfect spot for him and his skill set. And they're going to make it pay off for him and for them. And this is going to be a really dangerous team in another year or two once Harbaugh's got everything in place he needs for this offense.
So say what you will about these weapons around Lamar Jackson. 8 drops already by his wide receiver.
Hey, I'm telling you this. The weapons put around him are for running the ball. Because that's what you've got to do first. That's why they draft the running backs. They did draft a wide receiver this year, but it's why you're drafting linemen and running backs. This is a team that is based off of running the ball.
No, it is. I don't disagree with that. And they want to run the ball with Lamar Jackson, too.
Yes, and I think that is why you don't see the desperate urgency to grab another wide receiver right now, because they're playing the games the way they want to play the games. And if they want to play this way, the defense has to step up and play well, and I don't think they have this year until yesterday. If that defense has actually gotten that much better, and it wasn't just that Seattle was not very good, this Baltimore team, I don't know that you can beat a Bill Belichick coach team playing this way, though. So, if you ask me if they're a Super Bowl contender, they would be a top 4 team in the AFC to me, maybe top 5. But I would give Patrick Mahomes or Jacoby Brissett or Deshaun Watson a better chance at a championship game going into England.
Even Mahomes with all the issues in Kansas City right now.
Well, he's out for 6 weeks. There's enough talent there. If they just go 2-4, they're still in decent shape to make the playoffs. And if he comes back 100% and they don't rush him back, he's still special.
I mean, they have a chance. To me, that team can go 0-4 in the next 4 games.
They could. But you know what? We thought the same thing about the Saints. And I don't think Matt Moore is a horrible quarterback. And let's go to Teddy Bridgewater. Because he's made both of us look bad as now. He's 5-0, 23 for 38, 281 yards. Latavius Murray, 27 for 119. The thing that stands out here to me is the coaching job Sean Payton's done in New Orleans. You're missing your 2 best players. Straight up, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, and they've been 5-0 since. They go to Chicago. And
Kamara's been there. Up until yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean yesterday, though. Yesterday, they played what a lot of people would just, without thinking, say was the best team defensively in the NFL. And the Saints put 36 points on them. And I think, number one, Mitch Trubisky had good numbers, but most of those numbers were put up when the game was over. They still do not run the ball. And I'm still saying Jordan Howard was a huge loss. Vic Fangio was a huge loss. Chuck Pagano is a good defensive coordinator, but his teams do not play with the same kind of mindset that Fangio's play with. And I think you're missing that mindset in Chicago. Same players, different mindset.
For the Saints to do what they did on the road without Breeze, without Kamara, and Kamara hasn't, he's not having an Alvin Kamara type season. Latavius Murray, another player I suggested in my sleepers column. This is a guy you want to get in there. 32 touches, 150 total yards, 2 touchdowns. He looked like Alvin Kamara in the game. And this is a player that if you you've been watching the games in the past couple of weeks, he's been getting more touches. Last week he had 70 or 80 total yards, and Kamara was a little bit banged up. But he dominated Latavius Murray. He dominated this game, and this is a Bears defense without Akeem Hicks, one of their better run stuffers. No more Fangio. Adrian Amos at the safety. He's in Green Bay right now, and yes, the Bears are tough, one of the best defenses, but they are showing that they are vulnerable against the run because Josh Jacobs a couple weeks ago, he was a big reason why the Oakland Raiders beat the Bears in London. Because he had a game on Chicago. Yeah. And if you're a pass-catching running back, the Bears, I believe, are in the bottom 5 in all pass-catching categories against the running back.
All right, and last night, Sunday night, there was a battle for the worst division in football's leader, and the Dallas Cowboys came out on top, 37-10. To go to 4-3, the Eagles are 3-4. I don't think we really learned anything from two subpar teams beating on each other, do we?
I mean, I think the Cowboys showed heart. I think the Cowboys, they played hurt. It was a desperate game. They needed to win, and they not only won, they dominated this game in every phase. Philly didn't even belong on the same field with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, because of the injuries.
Doug Peterson, your guy, Doug Peterson, one of the best coaches. Guarantees a win, retracts it, and now look. I said you gave the Cowboys bulletin board material. You said it didn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It matters.
So you're telling me the only reason the Cowboys won was because he said something?
I think it helped. I think it gave them a little bit of a spark. Ezekiel Elliott, again, 147 total yards, 111 on the ground. The last time the Eagles gave up 100 yards to a running back was against Ezekiel Elliott and these Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Cowboys own the Eagles in the Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott era.
Not really, because in that same era, the Philadelphia Eagles have a Super Bowl ring. The Dallas Cowboys don't. Correct or incorrect? Am I wrong there?
Correct.
Am I missing something?
Nick Foles has a Super Bowl ring.
Nick Foles. Who did he play for?
Nick Foles.
Yeah, who did he play for?
The quarterback on the Philadelphia Eagles currently has never played in a playoff game.
Really?
Never.
But the fact is this, though. You just said during the Dak Prescott era and Ezekiel Elliott era, and I'm pretty sure during that era, the Cowboys still beat the Eagles with Nick Foles, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And I will give you this. If you look at the rest of the Cowboys' schedule, they'll probably beat the Giants. That makes them 5-3. The Vikings are going to come smack them in the mouth, 5-4. They're going to lose to Detroit, 5-5. They're going to lose at New England, 5-6.
They're just going to lose them all.
They will play the Bills. Maybe they'll win that one. It's on Thanksgiving, 6-6. They'll go to Chicago. They'll win that, 7-6. They host the Rams, 8-6. They go to Philly. They lose, 8-7. They play the Redskins. They win. They're 9-7. Maybe they can win the division with that.
If the Cowboys play like they did yesterday, and here's the big difference.
Are they going to play a team with a bunch of gimps like they did yesterday?
All kidding aside, the Cowboys, if they start fast, and they're a team built to play with the lead, and when they start fast, they win games.
Yeah, they're front runners, which is not a team that's tough enough to win.
Got to take something away.
Yeah, well, you took away the fact that the Dallas Cowboys are front runners, which is what they've been since 1997. And if they fall behind, they have no answers.
But aren't most teams built to win with a lead? I mean, you can't win games down 2 possessions. Look at the Eagles.
We're not talking about being down 2 possessions. You were talking about they start off slow, they start off fast. Well, how about this?
Slow, they give
how about
up
this? What was
points
the Eagles' record? What was the Eagles' record the last 2 years after 7 weeks?
Probably good, right?
No. They were, in the can. Remember, Foles saved them last year.
And what about last year? Dallas was 3-5, going into a Sunday night game against the Eagles. Dallas blew them out and only lost 1 game the rest of the way.
Really?
Yes.
Who'd they lose to?
The Rams in the playoffs.
Exactly. So as soon as they got to the playoffs, they lost. All right.
Okay.
When they played a good team. All right, tonight, the Patriots and the Jets. We'll continue.
And I can't wait to play. I honestly have New England circled. I can't wait for that one.
I know. That should be a great win for you guys. Next up.
I can't wait.
Tonight, the New England Patriots will go to New York to face the Jets. I think this is a game that's going to be closer to what most people think. Am I nuts?
Yes and no. I mean, Darnold played well in the second half of last season, and the final game of the year, one that didn't matter very much to New England, they dominated Sam Darnold, and that's my issue. Robbie Anderson, his career, could never get anything going against New England. Le'Veon Bell, possibly he can change things, but if the Patriots defense continues to play the way it is, I don't know how this game isn't blown open by the second half.
I think it's like a 27-13 game. I think it's just closer to what most people think it'll be. Because I don't think the Jets' defense is that bad, so I think they might be able to slow them down a little bit. And it's not like the Patriots were world beaters against the Redskins, and the Jets, I think, are better than the Redskins.
Right. Just imagine when they have Zeke coming to town.
Who's Zeke?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
What are you talking about? Dude, there's nobody in Dallas that even wants to go play that game.
I want to play it.
No, you don't.
I would go play it.
No, you
That's
don't.
how pumped I am.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe you'll beat them, too. And then you can still watch them play in the Super Bowl and talk about that time you beat them in a meaningless game, because that's what you guys are good at doing in Dallas, winning meaningless games.
It's going to be a long season.
I know. It's about time you realize that, too.
What if Dallas wins the Super Bowl? Then what? Are you just not going to do the show at noon?
There's no chance of that.
Well,
there's not. There's like at least 7 teams better than the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe more. I think right now.
We'll see.
I think right now, if the Bengals played the Cowboys, the Bengals would beat them. Can't prove I'm wrong because they don't play. So I figured I'd make that statement. And, once again, you were wrong, because last week you said you didn't think the Cowboys would win another game this decade. But one win over a beat-up Eagles team of Carson Wentz, who you talk shit about all the time, and now you think that they're a Super Bowl contender again. That makes no sense, Anthony.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Okay, we will. Tell everybody where they can find you on the FF Faceoff.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru. You can follow the show at the FF Faceoff. You can find us on all of the top social media platforms.
All right, guys. And remember, you can follow The Grueling Truth on Twitter at Grueling Truth. We're going to wrap the show up for today. We will probably be back tomorrow at noon. I'm getting fiber optic cable installed tomorrow, Anthony. So it's according to how early they come and whether they got it going. So I will text you as we go to see if we'll be able to do the show or not. But with fiber optic cable, I'm told everything will move much quicker.
Oh, good.
So there you go. We're stepping up our game. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Make sure you follow Anthony at the FF Faceoff at Real NFL Guru, the Real NFL Guru. And make sure you check us every Monday through Friday at noon. So we're going to wrap it up. Check out betnow.eu. Use the promo code TRUTH100. But for Anthony Savino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.